Did I emotionally cheat with assistant? Wife wants divorce. Advice. My dear wife, F42, and I, M42, have been married for 11 years. We have 3 kids. I love her. I love our family. I am proud of our marriage. My wife is beautiful, educated, smart, Christian, and truly is a good person. Thanks to a series of investments I made, we are wealthy, 9-digit net worth. But this has brought complexity. We have multiple residences in the country and overseas. We have part-time staff working for us, nanny, handyman, wife's assistant. We move nearly once a year, bigger/better house. The complexity of our lives has led me to being increasingly frustrated and burdened with all the stuff that's my responsibility: bills, taxes, cars maintenance, houses maintenance, legal stuff, trust planning, etc., tech/home automation issues, booking travel arrangements, etc. My wife is often busy planning parties, social events, vacations. Overwhelmed, earlier this year I asked my wife if I could hire one long-term full-time personal assistant for myself in a role similar to my wife's existing assistant. She was initially against it. Eventually, she agreed. Long story short, after reviewing 300 resumes, doing 30 phone interviews, making 6 job offers, it was hard to find someone. More precisely, I found a great candidate rather quickly. However, my wife initially refused to hire her because, in her exact words, the candidate is young, thin, and pretty, so I'm not comfortable. I sided with my wife and said, "No big deal. I care about you being comfortable, so I will try to find someone else." After more time searching for someone qualified, one day without me pressuring to hire the candidate, she saw I struggled in the search and said, "Fine, you can hire the first candidate you had found." But my wife gave me 2 conditions for the hiring. The assistant's position must be short-term, 4 months, until a plan moved to a new city, and I must fire the assistant on the spot if my wife felt uncomfortable with her for any reason. She said she feared having an attractive assistant, her words, may entice me to cheat with her. I reassured her I am not attracted to the assistant and I have no history of ever cheating in 11 years. Her conditions seemed reasonable, so I accepted. So this assistant, 34F, unmarried, has a long-term BF, accepts the offer. She is good at the job, so as a boss I praise her a lot. I see the assistant in person at the house on average about 45 to 60 minutes a day, usually while my wife, nanny, and kids are also present in the house. Most of the day the assistant is working remotely at home or our other houses or running errands, so we communicate mostly via texts. From the beginning, I have always reminded her of the importance of having a good work-life balance. So I promised her I would keep my texts and calls strictly during business hours 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I do. Rarely I send a single text at like 5:30 or 5:45 p.m. to say, "Don't forget XYZ for tomorrow," or just to say good night. About a month in, it becomes obvious to me that the assistant is a high performer. Top 5%. She takes a ton of work off my plate, takes many initiatives, is detail-oriented. Thanks to her, I'm finally able to reclaim some time for my family. I take time to go on a date with my wife, first in many months, not proud of that. I also spend more time with the kids, etc. I realize it would be difficult to find a replacement as good as this assistant, so it would be stupid to keep her only as a short-term employee for 4 months. Furthermore, the assistant starts talking to me about her plans after this job, that she wants to start a venture when the position ends. If my wife eventually changes her mind about accepting to keep the assistant indefinitely, which I think is likely, the assistant may not be available to me anymore, as she has prepared herself to start her new venture. I am distressed just thinking about the effort required to find a similarly skilled assistant. I need to convince my wife to keep her long-term, but I know this is impossible right now, as my wife is still somewhat uncomfortable. So monumental mistake number 1. Without consulting my wife, I give the assistant a performance review, tell her she is doing great overall, tell her what needs to be improved going forward. I grant her a one-time $1,000 bonus, and I tell her I am extending her position indefinitely, at will, with 2 weeks' notice. In my dumb head, my plan was this would secure the assistant's position past the 4 months, at which point I hope my wife will have changed her mind. So I can ask her if I can keep the assistant. If she says yes, great. If she says no, I fire the assistant because the contract still allows me to. I am dumb. Really dumb. On the spot, I think this is a decent plan, but I don't realize I am breaking my wife's trust in me. 2 months go by. The 4-month end date for the role is imminent, but not there yet. My wife made a few comments on situations that made her feel uncomfortable. For example, about me sitting too close to the assistant on the sofa for 3 minutes so our thighs would touch while helping her fix a laptop issue. So I promised to never sit on the sofa. Or one slow day, she heard me having a 20-minute discussion not related to any work task. So I promised to never have such long discussions. When the assistant is at home, I would say she does not act flirty. Her behavior doesn't change whether my wife is around or not. And when my wife sees our interactions, she has made no other remarks. However, my wife still comments occasionally how pretty the assistant is. I reassure my wife it is her I love, and I say I do not think the assistant has ever shown romantic interest in me. I am not attracted to her, even if, wife asked me. I can admit she is objectively more attractive than the average person. Anyways, the assistant is still doing great at her job. I still give her great praise. Our texts have become less formal and more relaxed, friendly/playful. I give some examples below. One day my wife noticed on my phone the assistant sent me a text on a Sunday night. It is a report link which she had forgotten to send on Friday. Wife is suspicious about texting outside business hours and asks me what this is. I explain. She asks to see my phone. I said sure, I have nothing to hide here. And she opens our text thread and starts browsing our entire texts and also email history. My wife becomes furious. She says my texts and emails are completely inappropriate. They show emotional cheating, infidelity, and she wants a divorce. She is not happy with the assistant's texts either, as she sends me many emojis, including smiling face with hearts or blushing face or hearts, never red, but blue/green/orange. Another example. My wife wanted to count the number of heart, like, reactions to each other's texts. Since hiring, the assistant sent 25 heart reactions, and I sent 3. I let my wife screenshot all the texts and emails she wanted so she could review one by one. She says she wants a copy of the evidence she could present to her family. We spend hours arguing. Here are the content of some of the texts, ranked roughly from the most to the least inappropriate, according to my wife. Number 1. The email where I told the assistant her position is extended indefinitely and I gave the $1,000 bonus. My wife is upset I made the offer without discussing first, which is understandable. I broke her trust in me. According to my wife, the worst snippets in this email are, "Dear XYZ, you rock. Seriously." Or, "I have been so pleased with you since you started working."